My gift is helping. We are on chapter 7.
Okay, I didn't get the traveling light one, so I'll have to catch it.
Welcome to our Sunday evening service as we're continuing in our series here in the auditorium on Are We There Yet? Marriage and Family. And we're continuing tonight together. Before we get started too much farther in our live stream and for those in the room tonight, in a second I'm going to have Jason Barkley listen to some music. But I did want to remind you that there are handouts in the back. And for those watching online, you can get the handouts by emailing the church for our lesson series. Tonight, a lesson is entitled Booking a Room, and it deals with marital intimacy. And so we're going to be talking about some things that some people never were talked about, but they are in the Bible. But I want to let the live stream crowd know, in case you have children watching with the lesson. I know we have several families who watch the lessons here. This is a marriage and family class. This lesson really is dealing with the marriage side, very little with the family side. So I'm going to recommend, we've recommended for our kids here, that anyone 14 and under, probably is best you not be a part of this lesson. Anyone 14 and up, this is a good lesson for you because there's a lot of things the world teaches that are incorrect. We're going to show you what the Bible says. But we're going to get started tonight in lesson, so I want to give you that heads up before we get started. Brother Barkley, come forward and lead us in Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Good evening.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound
that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've known less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. All right, let's sing together the Old Rugged Cross. Let's do this. Let's stand on the second hymn. The Old Rugged Cross we'll sing out just before we have an opportunity to give an offering back to the Lord. 247. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. To the old rugged cross I will ever be true, its shame and reproach gladly bear. Then he'll call me someday to my home far away, where his glory forever I'll share. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Barkley, and we're going to go ahead and have Brother Virgil come forward and lead us in a word of prayer. And before we do that, I want to remind you this Wednesday night is our fall fun night. This Tuesday, we'll be having a coffee with the pastor. That's at the Dunkin' Donuts on Kreitz Road. There's a sign-up list, Pastor. You don't need to sign up. If you just want to show up, you can. But it's a great time to come. We're going to be really focusing on missions as we're going through talking about the different things, missions, any questions you have on our missionaries. As I tell people, I'm often amazed by the questions that aren't asked and more amazed by the questions that are. And so this is a good time to ask those questions. Maybe you don't understand something. It's a good time to come in and ask. If you can't come, then call us. We want to be a help and answer anything we can. But that's this Tuesday and Wednesday, those. And then this upcoming Sunday, Sam Davison will be speaking at 9:45 and 11. He is, as I told somebody, this is probably the last chance you're going to get to hear him speak at our church. I would hope to think he'll still be traveling 4 years from now. But Sam Davison is in his mid-80s, if I remember correctly, and he's not going to be traveling much longer. Last I talked to him, but I think the last time I heard him, it was still just as powerful. He still has a great spirit of God. God's used him for many years, and I think this would be a great opportunity. It is a great blessing that our church even has the opportunity to get him. We booked him about 4 years ago. So exciting to see when Pastor booked him. I remember being a part of the conversation. Sam Davison said, well, if God hasn't come back or taken me home, then I guess we could make that work. And so what an opportunity to have him. Make sure you're here for the 9:45 and the 11 a.m. services for those events. And then the summit, which is up at Camp Kobiak. If you're free, Camp Kobiak has a leadership meeting. It is the Monday and Tuesday, all part of that. This Wednesday night, you'll see the sign-up list for the mobile food pantry. Hope you can sign up to that to be a worker to help out give out food on the 4th. And then November the 9th, we're going to be honoring 2 of our veterans. We'll be honoring Jim Bossy. He is the director of Jehovah Jireh Ministries, and he's a veteran who served. And we'll also be honoring Gary Price, a local Grand Ledge, just kind man. I was talking with the Honor Guard, leader of the Honor Guard, Dale Walters, the other day, who told me, he said, yeah, we're going to be there. He said, Gary's just one of those guys who everyone kind of overlooks because he just did everything without ever wanting any fanfare. He said, that's the guy we want to honor. So great opportunity. Thank you for being a part of all these different events. Virgil, lead us in a word of prayer, sir.
Father God, again, I thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for your love and kindness to us. Again, I thank you for just watching out for each one of us. Pray for the service that today that the pastor's heart that touch our hearts and change our lives. Pray for this offering and we give back the portion you're going to give us with. I pray for all these things in Jesus Christ. Amen.
You're welcome, man. Before I forget. First Corinthians chapter number 7. 1 Corinthians chapter number 7. And we are continuing in our series, Are We There Yet? And I'm so grateful multiple of you have told me you've really enjoyed the series so far. And multiple of you told me you have used and enjoyed the book, the Are We There Yet book. I've had a couple of you tell me you needed more books, not because you've lost it, but because you've given it away to coworkers and family members. That is one of my favorite reasons or things to have people need more books for. That's the purpose of books. They are like tools. Use them and then pass them off one to another. So if you did not get a copy of the lesson yet, Jason Barkley has them. I could use one. Someone borrowed mine from the pulpit. Jay, I'll take one. I don't need it. It just helps me to know how far you guys are down and where you're at in the sheet, because I have my notes up here. But still, I like to keep it up here. And we're talking tonight about booking a room intimacy. And we're going to read a passage of Scripture here together. And who would like to read this? 1 Corinthians 7, verse number 1 through 5. And I'll say this again for those just picking up online. We do have a good group who like to watch online. This is a marriage and family course. However, this singular lesson is really, let's say, older teenager up. So if you have little kiddies at home watching this and you're watching this, I know we have a couple of friends from Japan and all over the world who listen to us. Maybe this is time to put the earbuds in, as we're going to go a little bit more in depth. We're not going to talk about anything inappropriate, but we are going to talk about what intimacy in marriage should look like. If you have an older teenager, this might be a good opportunity to say, hey, sit down. Hey, we're going to talk about what marriage should look like. So who would like to read this verse here? 1 Corinthians, Terry beat you. Sorry, Josh. Terry's just faster. He got that right arm all good from painting. He's just all like fast. Zip. There we go. Terry, go ahead and read this for us, sir.
1 Corinthians 7, 1 through 3. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband.
Josh, could you read the next two verses for me, sir?
The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband hath not power over his own body, but the wife. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourself to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency.
My body, my choice. We've heard that statement before.
Especially from the younger.
My body, my choice. Hey, here's the thing about the Bible. The Bible likes to take statements the world has created and give different truths. Once we get married, I no longer have the right to say, my body, my choice. It's now our bodies. Our choice. It's an agreement we come together to. And we're talking about intimacy, what makes marriage better, spiritual, physical, emotional intimacy. And what a lot of marriages lack is in this area. And we don't understand it. My wife and I, when we first got married, my wife and I grew up in dramatically different homes. We grew up in very similar Christian fortitude setups, right? Both of us grew up in ministry homes. My wife's mom and dad, her first dad before he passed away, was a pastor. Her mom was a school teacher. She grew up at the sending church of this church. We were in nursery together. My mom, school teacher, my dad, pastor. Her mom homeschooled her for a couple years and then was her school teacher at school. My mom homeschooled me my entire life. We had a very similar, we both went off to Bible college. We both had everything so similar. However, we very quickly figured out we viewed intimacy very differently. My wife grew up in a family of touchy-feely people. They love to snuggle up and hug. I remember the first time I came over to their house at an event, and I'm watching full-grown adults snuggle up with their full-grown adult parents. And I'm sitting there going, this is plumb weird. Why is a 24-year-old adult snuggling up with a 55-year-old adult? This is not normal. I remember explaining to my wife, goes, I just thought that was adorable and sweet. I said, if I went over to my dad and tried to snuggle up to him right now, how many think that would be the funniest thing you've seen in a long time? I remember like me and my dad, like we give each other hugs. It's a big deal. Like, hey, Dad, good to see you. Give each other. Normally it's just a quick side. But there was a while back, we gave each other a long hug. My dad says, everything okay? Not yet, just fine. Just wanted to hug you for a bit. Okay, we're good then. It's just not how we think. Like I remember explaining to my wife, when we moved into our house, I had this giant, like Kurt Wallace, and introduced me, who was a former deacon of our church, to his brother-in-law had this giant 12-foot couch. It was a sectional, one giant piece. So I got this giant couch. I set it up in my living room. I married my wife. I'm sitting there, and the first time my wife comes over, she's like on top of me. Well, I'm like, honey, there's a whole couch over here. And so I, being a good husband, realized what the problem was. She wanted to sit at that end of the sofa. So when I got up, I went over to the other room, got my snack. Angie, don't laugh at me too hard here. I went to the other end of the sofa because my wife wanted that in. And so my wife, when she got up, she realized what the problem was. I didn't want to sit that in. I went to, my wife came back and sat that in. The entire night we went back and forth, sitting trying to figure this out. We've had a lot of fun figuring out how differently we view intimacy. What makes the two of us tick. I love holding my wife's hand. I also love being publicly affectionate. How many knows I don't mind giving my wife a kiss in public, holding her hand. My wife absolutely was mortified at the idea of us publicly kissing on our wedding day. I mean, like straight up, she looked at me like, this is by the way, when we do marriage counseling with new couples, we tell them, you have to discuss what the kiss is. And I used to just say this, you have to discuss what the kiss is going to be like when you leave the room. Now I make them, in the marriage counseling session, discuss what the kiss will be like at the altar. Pastor Joe, why do you do that? Because people are liars. And I can't tell you how many times I've shown up at a wedding I've counseled people at, and the two people up there, and I can tell they have not discussed this one time, and they have lied straight to me at the thing, and it has now created a problem on their wedding day.
We should have done that.
Yes.
Because I picked up the veil, gave her a peck, and put the veil down.
Yes.
Stood there with my hands in my pockets.
And I'm guessing that's not what Laura was expecting. There's an altar right over there. My favorite marriage story was when I was a kid, my brother and I got to go to lots of weddings. We went to this wedding, and a few years later, I got to meet someone who went to the same wedding. I went to college with a person who went to the same wedding, and we compared notes. And they told me things I had even forgotten. It's the worst wedding in human history. They got the bride stuck in the basement. They forgot that there was no way out the front, so they tried to shove her out a window. And the window wasn't big enough, so they got the bride stuck. And it's muddy, rainy out there, and so then she's getting stuck through the mud rain. Me and my brother and our best friends are sitting in the back row of this church. We had a thing, we'd play Uno in the back row of a wedding. And we're sitting there, and everything that could go wrong went wrong. The groomsmen decided they didn't want to wear their suit coats, so instead they just wore their vests. Their vests looked like they were cheap card dealsmen from Vegas. And they're all standing up there. It was the most terrible. They had this trumpeter who couldn't play the trumpet. The mother of the groom passed out during the middle of the ceremony. I mean, no, they're not still married. Unfortunately, they are not still married. The bride, my cousin caught the meal table on fire in the reception. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And the best part was, there are two favorite parts. One was the kiss, where they obviously did not talk about what the kiss was going to be like. Because he was about 6'3", 6'4". Now, I was a kid, so I could be off, but he was really tall, and she was really short. So they didn't realize there was a height difference here. And they didn't talk about it, and he had an idea there was going to be some romantic, deep, loving kiss. And she was expecting a peck on the cheek. And so when he reached in, he bent her down, and she kept pulling away. And he kept leaning in, and she kept pulling away till she knocked the candelabra over, which were actual candles, starting to light the building. Like, it was the most hilarious. And she's like pulling away, and he's trying to kiss her, and I'm sitting in the back going, if I ever become a pastor who does marriage counseling, we are talking about the kiss. And that was not the worst part of the wedding. Because right after the kiss, the two of them stood there hand in hand. They had picked a marriage song, which I have never heard at a wedding, nor since ever heard at a wedding again. Remember I told you about the wonderful, loving mother of the groom who fainted, who just before the wedding, we were informed that they got a deal on the cruise, and so they got adjoining cabins on a cruise ship. Wait, it gets better. We're all in the back. My brother, me, and all his friends are in the back row. We just have heard about this. Remember, the building has been lit on fire. It could not get any worse. And all of a sudden, they get up and sing a song, When Two Become One. Very beautiful song, except for the fact that the groom couldn't sing. High-pitched song. It's bad. And then it comes to the chorus, which I didn't know. The chorus goes from When Two Become One to all of a sudden a record player turns on the song and you could hear the people sing, and when three become one, and literally the whole room explodes in laughter because not a single one of us is thinking about Jesus and the couple, okay? Nobody in the room is thinking that. I mean, I watched one of my uncles literally fall out of his pew, land on the front, and laugh so hard that he's holding his side crying. All in the middle of a wedding. And by the way, my dad was there, my brother was there. I can get you the name of the sister of the bride, who is my friend who I met in college, who also was there, who was a bridesmaid at the front, who had told me a very, very interesting view of her side of the thing. And listen, talking things over is important. You know, I don't know what caused that marriage to end, but I can tell you what started it off wrong. Not having some conversations. How many of you could easily see in every one of those scenarios that a simple conversation would have stopped a massive embarrassment? I'm planning on doing a really passionate kiss, public display of affection with you, honey, in front of everyone. And she could have gone, no, you're not. But see, what a lot of things we do, especially in intimacy, involves communication. Talking it over. What makes the difference? The Bible makes it very, very clear that marriage is honorable in all. Marriage is supposed to be different. But the first part of marriage is purity. And see, this is where our society has gotten really skewed. Because everything in life is sex now. Sex sells. Everything is sex. Everything. I remember the other day I was in front of a bunch of teenagers, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was you, Jason, I was mentioning. I said, yeah, I love Brother Jason. And one of the teens goes, ew, that's gross. And I was like, what are you talking about? I thought you were married. I'm like, yeah, I'm married, but... And like in the farthest reaches of my brain, it had never come up that this teenager would think when I said my friend of almost 20 years, that I love him, and I mean like a brother, that their first thought would be sexual. But that's all they hear now. See, this is the problem the world has created. Any desire of friendship, closeness, or friendship has now been turned sexual. What was meant to be between a man and a woman, two people specifically designed for a certain thing, is now not. Everything is sexual. I remember the day that a 9-year-old girl got picked up on the bus, and I brought her into church. Jason, get to be another illustration. And I walked her and I said, Jason, I'm sorry. I just didn't see the girl's shirt. And she's 9-year-old girl, and it said, I'm super sexy. And I truly wasn't. How many of you have ever been there? You're just not looking at something. And the girl got on the bus and said, Jason, I'm sorry. I'm bringing her in. We got nothing else for her, right? And I remember I went home to her mom, and I'm like, hey, man. She said, well, she is super sexy. She's 9. She's 9. She's not meant to be. She's meant to be a kid. Here's the point. Since that is a problem in our world today, we have created another problem, which is now we just deny all versions of sex. So we have two problems here, right? Two extremes. Number one problem is the world has turned everything into sex. And so as Christians, we just then said, avoid all things sex and anything about it. We're going to run all over here and we're all going to become Puritan prudes. I remember my mom and dad kissing once on the platform, and I remember someone coming and saying, I can't believe your parents kissed in front of the church like that. Don't they know they're impressionable young people here? Yeah. Yes. And I remember being a kid, and I didn't have the guts to say it, but my older brother was much more gutsy than me. He said, yes, that's why they did it. I'm sitting there like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say right now. Like, here's an adult, and I think if I correct the adult, I get in trouble. But my brother said something I know is right. It's like, what am I supposed to do right now? And this is our problem. Purity is a biblical understanding. It is a biblical value. The Bible says this way in Proverbs 5:15, and you can look at this verse with us here together. Drink waters out of thine own cisterns, running waters out of thine own well. The Bible makes it clear, let thy fountain be blessed. Rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as a loving hind and a pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravaged always with her love. That's the Word of God. The Word of God says that husbands and wives are supposed to have sexual relations all the time, and are supposed to be excited about it. That's the Bible. Here's the problem. If we don't have the purity side right, this part will never work. It will never work. If a guy's in the other room looking at pornography every night, there is zero chance this will play out. Ever. Ever. 100%. And I cannot tell you how many marriage relationships I have worked with who they're sitting there and the guy goes, well, my wife just won't do what I want her to do. And she's just not up for it. And I'll ask something along the lines of, well, how is your viewing life? Are you into pornography? Oh, no, I'm not into it. And then the longer we talk, the more I realize we're lying through our teeth, and the wife knows it. Hey, there is one person in your world who's supposed to fulfill you sexually. That is your spouse. End of subject. That's it. And the Bible makes it very clear. That's the goal. And the problem is that we've created a world where we allow the TV, the computer, other people, other things to fill it. And guys go, well, I just don't understand why I don't have this relationship with my wife like I want. Well, for a guy, I love this great illustration. Guys are like grills. Turn on the gas, press the button, boom. You are sexually awake and active. That's all it took. Wife turned on the gas, pressed the button, and we're good. Women are slow cookers. When my wife had some health issues a couple years back, just going through some different things. And while she was doing it, I said, honey, what do you need? She said, I really need just some help around the house, just a couple things. Would you mind picking up making some meals? I love to cook. So, awesome. So I started making meals 2 days a week. And I would use our slow cooker. I have a couple reasons for using a slow cooker. Number one, I'm not home at dinner time. I make it home at dinner time. And I'm hungry at dinner time. How many know this, right? So when I would wake up at 4, 5, and 6 in the morning, depending which day it was of the week, I would get up the night before I went to bed, I would get whatever I wanted to cook out of the freezer. Because how many of you know, if you take something frozen and put it in the slow cooker, it doesn't work quite right. So I'd take it out, put it in the fridge. I couldn't leave it out on the counter all night because then it goes bad. So I had to put it in the correct temperature and leave it in the fridge all night long. How many are picking up the illustration I'm giving so far? I'd leave it in the fridge. I'd had to put it on a pan in the fridge, because if I didn't put it in a pan in the fridge, it would then leak on the fridge and make a mess in the fridge, and then it wouldn't work right. So I leave it in the pan on the fridge, and then when I get up in the morning, first thing in the morning, I'd cut up the vegetables, I'd put the meat in the crock pot, I'd do all the ingredients, I'd put it in there, and then I'd put it in the crock pot. Usually it's 7 in the morning, sometimes 5:30 if I was leaving for the airport to be a chauffeur for the airport. I'd plug it in, and then I'd turn it on low. And then all day long, it would just slowly heat up to temperature. I'd call my wife at noon, say, honey, could you check it? Could you move a couple things around? I'd text my wife usually at 3 o'clock, ask her to take the biscuits that I put in the fridge. Say, honey, could you set them out on the pan? I'll be home at 4 o'clock, because then I used to work early shift to 4. And then at 4 o'clock, because you know how many know you take biscuits straight out of the fridge and try to pop them, they don't cook as well. Some of you didn't know that. You need to leave them out for about 30 to 40 minutes. This way they get back to room temperature. Leave them out for too long, though, they get bad infections, and you all die, okay? So there's a timing thing here, okay? And then you pop it open, you put it on the pan, stick it on there, 15 minutes later, I have a delicious meal. And my kids would go, wow, that meal that was fast. No, it wasn't. I started working on it the night before. When it comes to men working with your wives, it's not a grill light up, it's the day before. One of my favorite books that Lehman wrote is called Sexual Relations Happens in the Kitchen. Starts in the kitchen. It's a great book. You should look it up. A great read. By the way, I'm going to give you 5 different things you should read or look up. Number 1, Keeping It Young with the Youngs. They have a much better, about 5-episode podcast that they did on this subject. Keeping It Young with the Youngs. Dave and Bethany Young, they're some of my wife's my favorite people, and they do great stuff. Helped us out on many different occasions. Keep It Young, they do 5, I think it's 5, maybe 4, or maybe 6, but I think it's 5 lessons just on this. So I'm going to take 40 minutes. They take 5 times that, 5 times 30. 150 minutes to walk through this, way more than I'm going to do. So look them up on their lesson period. Next book, Sheet Music. If you've never read the book Sheet Music and you are a married person, you need to read the book Sheet Music. Pastor Joe, if I want to talk about sheet music, I go to Susan Thompson. All about music stuff, I mean, that's her field. Not trumpet sheet music, bedroom sheet music. Learning how to make music with your spouse. I understand there's different instruments. Each one requires different playing abilities. I have now moved into a new world. I was telling Terry about this last week. I have wanted a bass ukulele for over 10 years, and a very nice person in our church heard about this the other day, handed me money because they heard it was on sale, told me to go buy it. I have bought my first stringed instrument that's my own. I own it. It's mine. I have no idea what to do with this thing. The other night, I'm sitting there playing it, and my wife is loud. I was telling Terry, so I'm excited to get it. But I've been a brass player and a piano player my entire life. I took violin for 1 year. That's the closest thing I've ever been to a stringed instrument, and I was horrible. But I've always wanted to have one of these things, and I'm sitting there, I'm playing it, and I'm not bad. Now, I've played the guitar with my kids, and I played the ukulele with my kids. I can play like 3 songs, but really, now I'm interested. I'm invested. But it's a completely different world learning this instrument. It's completely different thought processes. Hey, when you get married, it's a completely different thought process when it comes to marriage and intimacy. What makes you happy, most likely, almost guaranteed, will not make your spouse happy. It's life. Here's the problem. We don't talk about that, though. We don't talk about what's valuable. I heard someone say this in a marriage counseling book that I read the other day. They said, a wise husband will understand that if he walks by his wife and either taps her on the butt or cat calls or whistles at her, that she will give him a look. But that same wise husband will understand that if he doesn't do that, she'll wonder what's wrong. So understand, women, you put mixed signals out that guys do not understand. Guys are grills, right? Hit the grill, fire it up, we're going. And then when someone else, you're like, wait a second. I thought you got mad at me for that. Well, I did, but I expect you to do it anyways. What in the world are we talking about? This is marital intimacy. But understand, as we come into this first part, we're getting some of these guidelines. Number one, keeping it young with the youngs. Number two, resource, sheet music. Number three, the act of marriage, either the act of marriage or the act of marriage after 40. It's a great book for you to read. Depends on your age bracket. You're under 40. My wife and I bought The Act of Marriage After 40 on a clearance track 5 years ago. Next year, we're getting into it. So we said, hey, we're going to be picking that book up next year. Find time to read it. We read the first book. We're getting into this one. Number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here we go. Number 4 book. Song of Solomon. What are you talking about, Pastor Joe? The book of Song of Solomon. It's a great book. You should really read it as a couple. 100% as a couple, you should read the book. In fact, one of our rules for marriage counseling is, and Murray, you'll love this, we make the couple read the book of Song of Solomon out loud to each other. Because when people talk about things like, well, I just don't know if I feel like that's what we should do. Read the book of Song of Solomon. We're in the book of Song of Solomon. The man and the woman talk about the sexual things they're going to do to each other. I was talking to someone and said, my favorite verse in the whole Bible is his banner over me is love. And I love that last part, but I don't understand what that last part is. I said, well that's a sexual act they're describing. I said, what? I said, the last part of that verse, his banner over me is love, is a sexual act the husband is performing on the wife. No, it's not. Yeah, it actually is. Well, how do you know that? Because if you study Hebrew, you know what the words mean. It's what it means. Really cool verse. But see, most of us, we don't look at it that way. Hey, God of the universe made this to be this way. So here's the thing. Marriage is beautiful in its own way. The sexual bed, undefiled, is meant to be fun, adventurous, and exciting. But if we don't have the guidelines for purity set up, what we will and will not accept, then everything over there is toast. Just take it and throw it in a wood chipper, because it's done. Now, can it be regotten? Yes. I understand it can be regotten, right? It can be rebuilt. But how many understand it is much easier to keep the foundation than to try to rebuild it? I remember doing a counseling session where we got to talk about different things with different counseling couples, and the couple talked about how that in the middle of their sexual intimacy, the husband spat on the wife. And the wife, of course, didn't appreciate that. And the husband couldn't understand why he didn't. In fact, they were very upset, and they went their separate ways, and the wife looked at what world we made in. And finally, after talking through the counseling session, we quickly realized he had been watching pornography, and in the pornography videos he liked, the man, to make the woman like him more, would spit on the girl. Now, how many understand this is where pornography has no idea what a woman actually wants? It doesn't. I don't think I know of a single woman on earth who's like, you know what, to make me excited to love you more, honey, spit on me. Just spit right at me. Honk a big loogie right at my face. Let me know that I am loved so dearfully. Listen. That's what the banner is. I know, right? His banner over me is a loogie. That's what it is right there, folks. Listen, the guidelines of purity, unless you can explain what the rules are, you'll never understand what the rules are. When my wife and I first got married, we had great marriage counselors who gave us great advice on things. But even with great marriage counselors, similar marriage world, it was a challenge to figure out our marital intimacy. As we walk through that road of figuring out how many times do we want to have relations in a week? What is acceptable? When is it acceptable? Where can I touch? Where can she touch? How many understand that's a weird conversation to have? How many have been married for a while and it's still a weird conversation to have sometimes? You know, a couple years ago, my wife and I were getting ready to have, just to be honest, we'd said we'd had some issues. It was right after the pandemic. I had been really, really sick. And my wife is a people person, and the lack of the social connection really was messing with my wife. And so we decided we would take a marriage trip. We've been advised about it. We took it, and we went to Grand Haven. We just went to Grand Haven this last week as we were getting ready to do this event. We said, we're going to go back there. We went to the same spot we went to, and my wife and I held my wife, and I looked at the spot. Unfortunately, the coffee shop we went to is closed. That was sad. We were going to go into the coffee shop. That time, it was during the middle of the pandemic, so they had greenhouses. They bought greenhouses so people could go sit in greenhouses. And my wife and I sat down for 2 hours and talked about the enemies of our intimacy. And my wife looked at me and said, I understand you light up like a grill, but I need you to talk to me the day before. I'm like, I do talk to you. In fact, most people say I talk too much. And she's like, not like, yes, you talk to me. I need you to talk with me. I need you to ask me questions. I need you to tell me I'm praying. I do tell you your prayers. I said, yes, you tell me I'm hot. You tell me I'm beautiful. But I need you to actually look me in the eye and say things like, honey, I love you and you're beautiful. I need you to do that. Now listen, I had told my wife she's pretty, she's beautiful, she's hot. But see, there was this thing I was missing. I was missing the fact of stopping what I was doing, looking her in the face and going, honey, I love you. You look so beautiful today. Now, I always believed it. And by the way, I still believe it. In fact, she said, I know you believe it. I need to hear you say it. I am saying it. I remember sitting there, and we're going back and forth in this greenhouse. I got to think the people watching us outside of this greenhouse are going, what is wrong with these two crazy people? As my wife's going, yes, but it's the what? Way, when, and where. Way, you can write it down. The way, the when, and the where you sit. Hey, listen, the enemies of intimacy are many. One of the biggest enemies of intimacy is pornography. Next biggest enemy of intimacy is stupidity. And that's just, we just don't take the time. We're just lazy. We're just, well, you know what? If you don't like how I say it, then you're just going to have to deal with it. And then we just keep spiraling. We don't figure out why it doesn't get better. Hey, if I could tell you that your intimacy life with your spouse could be 10 times better in 7 days, and all you had to do was change 5 things, how many of you would be like, sign me up? We all would. Here's the funny thing, though. It literally is that easy. Communicate. Get rid of sins that annoy your spouse. Stop doing things that annoy your spouse. Wait, you already said sins. Yes. See, there's a difference. There are things that are sins, and then there are things that annoy your spouse. I remember counseling a couple, and the couple was in our marriage counseling sessions that we do, and one of the last sessions we talk about what you're going to expect on the honeymoon. And I remember talking to the couple, and the guy explained that he could not wait to marry his wife, because once he married his wife, he would no longer have to hold in his farts. He said, yeah, I said, I can fart in front of my wife, and then we can go right roll into passionate sex. And I just looked at him, I was like, are you stupid? 13? Yes. But look at it, we live in a world where there are some enemies of intimacy, like sin. And then there's just some stupid. And you can't help stupid. I looked at the guy, I'm like, no. Would it shock you to know they're not married anymore? Would it shock you at all? Would it shock you at all to look back and go, yeah, that one probably went down the wrong road? Okay, Intimacy is created by people with similar goals. The Bible says, keep thyself pure. Flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call upon the Lord out of a pure heart. Ephesians 5:28, so ought men to love their wives as their own body. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man hath hated his own flesh, but nourished it and cherished it, even as the Lord the church. Here's the biggest problem for most intimacy relationships. We got the sin problems, right? We got the annoyance problems, right? We got the stupidity problem, right? And here's the final one. We just don't talk. We don't talk. Wives, if you really are annoyed when he kisses your ear, tell him. If you really are excited when he kisses your ear, tell him. Guys, if you really are excited when she wears a certain outfit, tell her. Well, I did tell her back in 1992. Well, that's great. How about a note, though? A note? Yeah, how about a note? I really prefer when you wear X, Y, and Z. Leave it at her thing. I'm looking forward to our date night. My wife and I, we take dates on Thursday night. It is not shocking for my wife to slide a note in my lunch pail on Thursdays. I love those notes. We now have older kids. I now have to be careful with what she slides in my lunch pail on Thursdays. My dad, who's our pastor, will sometimes get my lunch and try to make my lunch for me. I warn him not to do that on Thursdays. Yes, I know, Susan, this is great. Like, Pastor, you probably don't want to grab my lunch on a Thursday, because on a Thursday, my wife writes me notes, and they're awesome. Because we're going to go on a date. Now, I don't have great penmanship, so I often don't write as many notes as my wife does. If I do write a note, it's a big deal. But we do, the fifth thing that I tell you need to look up is an app called Paired. Paired. P-A-I-R-E-D, Paired. App. It's a great app. Every single day it'll ask you relationship questions. Now let me be very, very clear about this app before I go any farther, because someone who's going to watch this online is going to come after me and declare I am no longer a fighting fundamentalist and I hate Jesus or something like that. Paired was not made by Independent Baptist. In fact, it's not even made by Christians, okay? It is made by a group of people who are weird. But they got John Gottman, who I consider one of the best marriage counselors in the world, and they got the Parrots, who are some of the best, and they got Chapman, who are some of the best, to do stuff on there. So occasionally, they have not good things on there. How many understand that? Occasionally, they'll have an LGBT question on there because they're to make money. They charge money for it. And they're trying to get as many people under the umbrella. But I understand, you don't have to do that, right? Understand? It's like going to a mall. I can go to the mall and use the good stuff and leave the bad stuff. So my wife and I, every morning, when I get up, it asks me a question. I have to answer the question, and it sends the answer to the question to my wife, and my wife then has to answer the question. Terry, can I tell you why this is awesome? This is awesome because 1,000 questions that I have wanted to know the answer to, someone now ask my wife for me. Oh, I'm serious. How often do you want to have sex? The app asks the question. How many of you have a hard time asking hard questions sometimes? Especially to your spouse? Well, watch this. If an app asks the question every single day, how many realize it's easier to type out an answer sometimes than to look at your spouse and go, I really don't like the way you kiss me? How many realize like that's a hard thing to say sometimes, right? However, if you can type it in there, well, I really prefer when you kiss me softly rather than the wet, sloppy kiss that you prefer to do. Understand? There's tips and tricks that help our marriage. The enemies of intimacy. Let's go to some of the things that are good about intimacy. Passion. How many like when your mate is passionately in love with you? They're excited to see you. Well, the Bible says it this way in Song of Solomon, chapter 4. Remember, you should read the book of Song of Solomon. Chapter 4, here we go. Behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes with thy locks. Thy hair is as a flock of goats, and appear from the Mount of Gilead. I love Mark Lowry. Mark Lowry is one of my favorite gospel singers. One day, he wrote a song from some of the best lines of Song of Solomon to his girlfriend. And he included this verse in there. Hey, how many understand that this was a love poem that apparently was very, very appropriate back in the day? But if I walked to him, I said, honey, your hair looks like a flock of goats today. Probably is not going to win her over. But back in the Bible days, it was appropriate. How many understand that certain things change? Truths stay the same. Here it is. Compliment your wife in a way they want to hear it. The woman that Song of Solomon, Solomon's married to, was a herdswoman from the mountains. Her biggest and greatest joy in this earth was to see the herds go forward and to see the lambs and the goats. So you know what he says? He compares her to the things she loves. If your wife's a football fan, honey, you're smarter than Tom Brady. However, if your wife has no idea who Tom Brady is, that probably is not going to go over that well. Who's Tom Brady? What are you talking about? I don't know. I don't get what you're talking about. Compliment them in the way they want to be complimented. Help them understand that you care. Song of Solomon 4:16. Awake, O north wind, come thou south, blow upon my garden, that the spices thereof may flow out. Let my beloved come into his garden and eat his pleasant fruit.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the Word of God. Just going to let that sit up on the screen for a few minutes there. Some of you are turning shades of red I didn't know you could do. Hey, folks, this is the Bible. Here's the thing we talk about. See, we either treat sex as sin, or we treat sex as, I remember counseling a couple who they were advised that sex was only for procreation. It's the only reason you should ever have marital relations was to make babies. And that's what they were told. And so I said, well, what's that mean? They said, well, we're going to get pregnant on our honeymoon night. I said, so how many kids you plan on having? And the guy said, probably about 10 or 12. I said, okay. He said, well, yeah, we got to stop after the kids are all done. I said, I'm missing something here. This was one of my first marriage counseling sessions I ever did. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the wife, and by the way, you'd be shocked to hear that 6 years into their marriage, they were in full-on marriage trouble, and he was going off to try to have an affair. I wonder why. Hey, folks, the Bible's very clear that marriage is supposed to be a sacred union where two people love each other, where we slow cook the woman up all day long. Notes, touch, communication, kisses, looks, communicate back, text messages, all those things come together so that the guy can... Now listen, this is not a, I do this for you so I get something. So guys, how many understand your wife is not stupid? Okay? Some guys really think their wives are dumb. Honey, here's some chocolates. Here's a bag. There's the bedroom. Okay, that's not how this is going to work, okay? We do have to, we're not doing it to get something. We're doing it because we love our spouse. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. My wife and I went on a trip once, and we went on this trip to go have a marital fun time. We spent a lot of money on a big trip, a lot of money on this hotel room, and we got there, my wife got violently ill. And I mean violently ill. And my wife no longer felt well. I did not get upset with my wife that we could not fulfill the act of marriage at the hotel because my wife was sick. How many understand that? We had worked all the way through. We had planned and we had stuff we'd done all day long. Everything to get it done. This is the beginning of our marriage. I remember we're staying at this very expensive hotel, and all of a sudden my wife's like, I need you to go to the store and get me some Dayquil. I go get her some Dayquil, I come back, and she is sicker than a dog. She is pale. She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's fine. I love you. I'm your husband. Whether we do A or B or just sit here and pray that you aren't sick all over me. Folks, marriage is meant to be created by God. So sex. God made sex to be created by God. When it's taken out of its correct spot, it's wrong. When it's taken out of its correct spot, it is broken. When it's looked at as, oh, well, I got to go do my marriage duty now. One of the worst things that happen is, and I don't mean to be mean right now, but older ladies who tell young women, well, sex is just something you got to do with your guy to keep him happy, and maybe one day you might even learn to enjoy it. What on earth are you talking about? If marriage is followed in the correct way, and if a husband loves his wife in the way he's supposed to, and the woman feels loved and cherished and valued as she's supposed to be, and a husband takes care of his wife sexually, putting her needs above his own, she will love having marital relations with her husband. Women, I'm sorry if you've never experienced that. I really am. Work with your husband. Get the books we talked about. Get the podcasts we talked about. Walk through it together and watch as it makes your marriage better. You will find a new closeness you never knew existed in life. Because God made for our marriage to be a symbol and a picture of His love for the church. Selfless giving. As we said this for this one. Women, you get to be the church. Jesus, He's the guy. He dies. Here's how we look at it, though. Guys, we're marrying the girl. What you gonna do for me, woman? And God's going, no, that's not the picture. It's the picture of the man sacrificing, helping his wife, doing the things that make her feel special. Well, I don't know what makes my wife feel special. Hey, that's the most insane sentence I've ever heard in my life. How are you married and living with a person if you don't know what makes them feel special? Ask questions. Well, Pastor Joe, I know they like their TV. Well, let me help you out then. Walk over to the TV, unplug it from the wall, pick it up, throw it out the window. Go get a new one after you fix this. So many people at the TV run their whole world. Talk. These apps and tips we're talking about, they help you, but if the TV, the internet, the work, whatever it is, takes precedence over your spouse, kill it. Next, given one to another. Given one to another. What do you mean by that? For marriage to work well, you actually have to give yourself over to the other person. You actually have to give over your heart, your mind, your soul, and your spirit to your spouse. The problem why most people don't do that is because, just to be honest, it hurts too much. We dated as if we were going to break up eventually. And so then when marriage comes around, we always keep a part of ourselves back. There's always a part of us that doesn't feel comfortable with our spouse. When my wife and I are on the same page, which happens all the time, we never have a fight or a problem ever. Ever once. And to be totally honest, most of the time they're my fault. Just to be honest, it's usually I'm out on something. The other day, it was actually my wife's fault. I told her this is a big deal in our relationship. I was like, honey, it's actually your fault. This is great. And then I realized I'm way too happy, and now it became my fault all over again. But listen, you got to know where you're at in these things. Give them when we're giving one another, and I know we're on the same page. I realize there's nothing I can't talk to my wife about. I know there's a problem when we're in the middle of a conversation and I go, I'm going to stop talking. Not because I'm going to say something wrong, but because I'm about to cross some unwritten barrier. There's a wall that's there. Hey, every part of me belongs to every part of her. Now, there's some things I don't share with my wife. I do a lot of marriage counseling. I do a lot of suicide counseling. I do a lot of different counseling in this world. Some stuff I don't share. Some stuff she does not need to know, because it doesn't affect her world. It's not going to enrich her. It's not going to bless her. It's not going to encourage her. There are some times where we're joint counseling couples, and I'm like, honey, you need to know A, B, C, D. Other times I'm like, honey, I'm counseling a couple. I am not going to walk you through this because you don't need this in your head right now. In fact, they don't need it in their head, and I definitely don't want it in my head. But I got to live with it. And by the way, if you live in a stressful job, and a stressful thing, and you come home and you carry that bag of absolute flaming garbage into your house and you dump it on your wife and your kids and your family, don't be shocked if marital intimacy dies. Here you go, honey. I remember we were first married. I was walking like, honey, let me tell you all the problems that happened at church today that I saw. And I'm just dumping it on Kyla. Here you go, babe. And I look at her and I'm like, why does she look so depressed? I mean, I'd had 12 hours to decompress everything that just happened, right? And over our meal, I just explained the 74 things that went wrong in the world to my wife that she needed to know. And that's when I realized, yeah, it's probably not the time to do it. And by the way, hey, honey, let's go have marital relations now. It's like, yeah, no. Listen, giving one to another. Finally, love. Love. By the way, if you struggle with pornography, struggle with the sexual bounds of purity, there's a book I recommend. It's called The Purity Principle by Randy Alcorn. I read it every year. 3 books I read every year. The Bible, Purity Principle, and usually Secrets of the Vine. 3 books every year. Secrets of the Vine. Those 3 books, every year, pretty much always read them. I had a 4th and a 5th. I don't read those every year now. Secrets of the Vine might fall off my every year one. It might, but it's so far it stayed on there. It's still one of my favorite books I read every year, every fall. Why do you read the same book every year? Because be careful lest ye fall. I just got to keep guards up. Great books to look at. Love. Love is a part of intimacy. What are you talking about, Pastor Joe? Well, anyone can have sex. Hey, people are having sex with animals right now in America. People are trying to make laws that they can have sex with children. Anyone can have sex with anything even, apparently. They're creating dolls that people can have sex with. It's gross. It's grotesque. It's wrong. But they're doing it. So what makes our Christian version different? Well, it's an act created by God. It's created by God with a specific purpose for a specific work of things. God made it part of intimacy. It is a part of intimacy. Our sexual relationships is a part of intimacy. It's not the only thing. Remember I said there's like 65 pieces to do beforehand. So do the steps. Virgil and I were hanging a giant fish in the church men's bathroom today. We went in there. Before we got there, I had to bring drills and drill guns from my house. I'm a guy. I understand. I need drills. I need drill bits. I need screws. I need a bracket set, and I need the fish. When I got to church, I needed a ladder. I needed a stud finder. I needed a tape measure. I needed a ruler, and I needed a level. And I know that I need every bit of those things. How many guys know that's all the stuff that I needed and probably more? Guys, are you with me here? To do that work, I need that stuff to hang a fish in a bathroom. Hey guys, what do you need to do to make your wife ready to have relations with you? If you can remember all of those steps to hang a stupid fish in a bathroom, how much more valuable is your spouse? Well, she should just be ready for me. I'm ready for her. Once again, you're thinking how you want to be taken care of. Gary Chapman wrote the 5 love languages, said it this way. He said it best: love people how they want to be loved, not how you like being loved. Which, by the way, is a flip thing for women. Women, love your husband how he wants to be loved occasionally. Okay, just walk in and be like, hi, honey, I love you, kiss him, and then take your clothes off. Pastor Joe, what are you talking about? That's weird. No, that's actually Song of Solomon, but we don't have time to go through all the verses today. That's just me paraphrasing. Hey, the Bible makes it clear this is part of intimacy. And by the way, sex relationships is larger than intimacy. Some people think that's the only version of intimacy. This is it. This is the only thing that is love. No, it's not. It's much larger than that. It's the day-by-day communication. It's the closeness. It's the 80-year-olds who still hold hands as they walk through the store. They asked a 9-year-old girl named Rebecca, what is love? And she gave a great quote. She said, love is the fact that my grandmother has arthritis, can no longer clip her toenails, and so my grandfather clips her toenails every Friday night. Hey, that's love. Every woman in the room went, aw. Every guy in the room went, gross toenails. Gross toenails. Hey, listen. And there's the flip. That's the difference. Women want that type of intimacy, that selfless love. That's what draws them to us. Guys, our selfless love is drawn by our eyes. Their selfless love is drawn by our actions. Our actions and words matter more to them than our looks. How many realize your looks is not what won you your wife, probably? I know some of you are shocked by this. It's the reason why a very rich man who looks weird and strange can get a supermodel. You're like, how did that happen? Because it's not the looks for the woman to catch the guy. It's the personality. Most guys, however, go for looks. That's the first thing they notice. Wow, she's hot. Hey, the problem is, intimacy is more than just that. So, here's 5 things I'm going to finish with that are going to help you. You might want to write these down. Ready for it? Number 1. Spontaneity is great. Scheduling is too. Spontaneity is great. Scheduling is too. There's a lot of women and men who get stuck on one or the other. Spontaneity. It has to be spontaneous. Every movie I've ever seen, the guy loves the girl loves the guy, the girl slaps the guy, then they kiss passionately, and then they're in love. That's love. That's spontaneity. No, that's sexual spousal abuse. You slap your spouse today, you probably go to jail. It's not a good idea. Humphrey Bogart walks up and like, come here, you dame, let's talk. And she goes, no, I don't know if I love you or not. If you do that with your spouse, you're probably going to end up in the marriage counseling session with me and my wife, okay? It's not going to work. Okay? Spontaneity is great. Scheduling is great too. Great marriages understand their seasons of life. So sometimes you can be spontaneous. Hey, we're gonna make love whenever we can, here, there, and there. And other times it's good to go, hey, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's what we're going to do. What are you talking about, Pastor? I'll take all the joy out of it. It could, or it really could spice it up. Because guys, if you're trying to set your wife up, you could be setting her up for 4 days straight before it happens. Women, you could be doing the same. Spontaneity is great. Scheduling is also awesome. Number 2, talk, 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 talk. Have those hard conversations. Talk about them. What do you want? What are you looking for? Now, guys, this is a problem because for a lot of marriages, guys and girls, they get stuck. They go, wait a second, here, we have a problem in this area, Pastor Joe, because you don't get it. Like, I asked my wife, she says, nothing. Well, see, if there's been a previous hurt or injustice in the marriage, especially in the lovemaking area, the answer is going to be nothing for a long time. How many understand that? That's where it's going to be at. So you're going to have to rebuild the trust. That's where you can build up things to make them know that the trust is going to be rebuilt. Talk, 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 talk. 3, change. Change. Change and change and change. Guys, we are people of habit. How many guys get up about the same time every single day? Go to bed about the same time every day? Watch the same style shows? All those things, right? Women, how many of you can change an outfit 4 and 5 times in one day? Okay, there's a difference in how our brain works. What a woman is excited about on Monday may absolutely and totally disgust her by Friday. And guys don't get that. I don't get that. As I told them, my wife and I have this great thing. I don't get it, but I've learned to accept it. How many of you guys know that is a great quote you should hold on to, right? I don't get it. I've learned to accept it. I have learned to accept that my wife could say, yes, honey, this is what excites me. And I'm like, okay. 2 weeks later, hey, let's do it again. She's like, what are you doing? The thing we did 2 weeks ago. And she's like, no. That was then. And this whole problem happened because I want to be spontaneous and surprise her. And so spontaneity is good, but scheduling is better. Okay. Number 4, code words are cool. Code words are cool. You got kids, workers, families, all those things. Having code words are great. I had a couple, and they read the book. Kai, what's the book? The book that me and you give out? Intimate Issues? Ladies, if you want to read a great book, add this just for the ladies' world, Intimate Issues. Probably one of the best books my wife and I have ever read, specifically written for women about how the guy's mind works and how your mind works. Guys, you should read it, but let your wife read it first, because if you try to read it first, you're going to be completely confused. Trust me, it's something that works that way. But your wives will love the book. It really does gently walk you through it. But in the book, they talk about that there's different levels of intimate relations. So they had it this way. They would call it breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert. So there's breakfast ones. How many understand most breakfasts are pretty quick? There's lunch ones. Lunch ones are a little bit longer. Dinner ones, those are pretty big meal. 5-course dinner ones, those are really great. And then there's dessert. And so they would have these different things. So their wife and them would say, hey, listen, we have a planned event. And because they had kids around, they say, honey, I'm looking forward to our Thursday night as we're going to be having for our date. Let's go get breakfast. And the two of them could talk about it. Eggs meant one thing, bacon meant another. Sausage, and they'd go through it. And they would have this full conversation. Pastor Joe, that's weird. No, it's cool. Because the way you can talk about it, where you and your wife can have a full communication, and your kids have no idea what you're talking about. I had another couple I counseled. Their favorite one was spaghetti. And one day, I'm standing in the church hallway, and the husband looks at me and says, honey, let's go home and have some spaghetti. And they forgot they had told me that was their code word. And she goes, I'm so looking forward to extra spaghetti tonight. It's been a long day. And the kid's like, I didn't know we're having spaghetti. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden the two of them turn, and the two of them just started laughing their heads off. Hey, folks, marriage is meant to be fun. I know about 20 couples' code words. It's hilarious. Some of the most random things. Ice cream. We're going to go work on the shed. I mean, it's fun stuff that people go. But having code words are cool. Where you can talk things over. It's really, really great when your spouse at work, you can send them a text message saying, hey, the spaghetti's getting warmed up at home. Finally, number 5, be quick to admit when you do wrong so you can do right. Everyone makes mistakes, especially in sexual relationships. But, honey, I really thought you'd enjoy this. Didn't work out. Honey, I thought you were in the mood tonight. You're not. I'm sorry. Just be quick to be done. Don't hold grudges. Be quick to move on. It's larger than intimacy. I know I told you this would be a longer lesson. I apologize. It is longer. But we only have one episode of this type of series and this entire series. Like I said, there's a 5-episode series by the Youngs on the Keeping Young podcast. I strongly recommend you listen to it. Right now, we're going to have a word of prayer. I'm going to bring Kai up. We have enough time for 2 questions if anyone has them. I told my wife, either we're going to have 30 questions for this lesson, or everyone's going to sit there and stare at us and go, we are not saying a word. So I don't know which one we're going to be right now, but we're going to go forward and have a word of prayer, and then we'll let you go. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, thank you for teaching us, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to have this lesson on intimacy, on what God meant it to be, on what God can make it to be, and how we need to move forward in our marriages with our families. Help us, Lord, to love and follow you. Help us, Lord, to know that you have the best plans for us. And in thy name we pray. Amen. So, do we have any questions for today?
No, but I did, when you mentioned earlier about like the parents on the platform and kids
Yep.
sing, and she's not much of a person either, and so sometimes at church for us, some of the kids, there's kids run around playing stuff like that, and kids are not doing anything like that, but I'm like, if they only see their parents, that's good, but they need to know it's normal.
Yes.
For a couple to love each other.
And it's very, by the way, I want my kids to see you walk arm in arm with your spouse. I do. I want to see, my kids have commented multiple times how much they love seeing Michael and Rachel look at each other. I don't know if Michael and Rachel ever knew this until tonight, but my daughter absolutely adores how the two of them look at each other. And she loves the fact, and my son Eli is like, Mr. Michael really loves Miss Rachel. And like they talk about it, and they love seeing that. You know what they also comment? How much Miss Pearl loves Mr. Dick. Hey, I want them to see young couples and old couples all the way through. That's a good thing. Any other questions or comments? And then we'll let you go. My wife is really hoping none of you ask questions on this lesson. You'd think, see, this is 20 years of me doing this. So after 20 years of doing this, you can't hit me with a question yet I haven't heard. Trust me.
Why did you get mad when she used your grill then?
Well, yeah, no, I have heard that question. You can't hit me with a question I haven't heard yet. I get all the questions, especially on this one here. Strange and weird ones, trust me. What'd you say, ma'am? Hey, we're going to light the grill up tonight. That is, by the way, that is one of the code words I've heard from a couple before. We've had some really fun ones. We're going to have pancakes with extra whipped cream tonight. That was one of my favorites, some of those ones. Yes, Terry?
We're empty nesters. We don't need no stinking code.
I know. But see, you do need code words when your wife calls you at work, if you're around other people, things like that. Text messages. By the way, writing a note to your spouse is helpful to be able to put like the code words in there for things like that. And it's just a fun little thing you could do for each other. So, marriage is meant to be fun. When marriage loses the fun, you lose the marriage. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's close out in one last word of prayer. We'll have the lovebirds in the back, Michael and Rachel, who are looking at each other with goo eyes almost all night long. I'm just kidding, they weren't. They were in the back just being normal back there. I just had to say it, though. Could you, Michael, please close to the word of prayer, sir?